So Kick-Ass 2 for me is a great film. And for all those people turning around and saying, oh, it's such a poor sequel and I wish Matthew Vaughn had come back to do the second one, so do I. However, that's not reality and he didn't come back and we're left with a sequel which isn't that bad. It is not miles away, not like Thor the Dark World anyway.
You must think I'm a piece of bread that needs to be buttered so heavily.
Oh my god, Thor the Dark World was horrendously shit. And that's the level that we talk about here. I don't mind a sequel if it's at the level of Kick-Ass 2. If it's at the level of Thor the Dark World, then I've got a problem because that was horrendously bad. The main reason why a lot of people don't like the second one is because of the change in director. Simple reason being Matthew Vaughn did the first one and then was busy, so he couldn't take on the second film. But the studio still wanted to make the second film and chose a different director in Jeff Wadlow, and he had his different ideas to what he wanted in the second film, and he put the story together and directed this story in a different way, I think, than Matthew Vaughn would have done. However, I don't think Jeff's is that far away from Matthew Vaughn's. It just weren't Matthew Vaughn's. I think Matthew Vaughn's Kick-Ass 1 just had so much emotion and you felt like you were really cheering and jeering on the people in that film. You really hated the bad guys and you really loved the good guys in that film. However, with this one, it felt that Hit Girl you couldn't really sort of like cheer on because she weren't really a superhero in most of this film. She was at the start and then she just went into try to living her own life, which was something different I think we wouldn't have seen in the Matthew Vaughn movie. And I think it was really interesting, that concept of now your father's dead, how are you going to be able to live without a father and be able to move away from the superhero side of things, because Marcus really didn't want her doing the superhero thing to begin with and really disagreed with it when her father was still alive, never mind after her father died. He didn't want her anywhere near that sort of lifestyle. He wanted her to have a proper life and to go to school and to do all the things that she missed out on as a kid and be a kid. However, she's known this lifestyle, and I think that was an interesting thing from this Jeff Wadlow version that I don't really think, definitely don't think, would have been in the Matthew Vaughn version. But I think different versions have different things. And also we saw in this version that Kick-Ass felt like he was becoming more of a well-rounded superhero. In the first one, he didn't know how to fight. Guy going off instinct. He was a terrible superhero. He was just getting on by pure luck and just trying to create an impact by standing up for himself and prove to people why normal people shouldn't be superheroes. However, we'll get into that part in this film later on, why that is somewhat unrealistic towards the end of this film. But yeah, I think that of him leading his own group and being in a group where they're all watching each other's backs and they all can save and beat crime and everything like that and stick together was such a great idea for the film. Even though, like I said, it wasn't as good as the first one, but the first one set a pretty high fucking bar, let's be honest, with Matthew Vaughn. And even though this movie doesn't have the same emotion as what the Matthew Vaughn version does, it has Jim Carrey in, so who gives a fuck?
Don't take the Lord's name in vain.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's something you cannot say about Kick-Ass 1. It doesn't have Jim Carrey in. Did it need it? Probably not, but this one does, so we praise this film. And I can definitely see why Jim Carrey regrets being in this film. But I also think that he did a good job. Because if you take Jim Carrey out of this movie, it might have been Eternals. Who the fuck knows?
You are so pathetic!
I think the villainly group led by Chris D'Amico was also fantastic because his journey in the first film of being sort of like a mob boss's son who helps to track down somebody that he needs to track down in Big Daddy via the means of tricking Kick-Ass into taking him to him and using Kick-Ass as sort of a leverage to get to Big Daddy, and then they can tear down Big Daddy. And he didn't realise the malice that he created towards Kick-Ass then and didn't want any harm to happen to him after realising what a nice guy he was. However, obviously Kick-Ass then blows up his dad at the end of the first film, and now in the second film he wants revenge and suddenly turns into a supervillain and wants the biggest guys and wants to be the biggest villain he possibly can, like his father Frank D'Amico, in which for me was a great transition into that villainly role, made sense, and does what every normal supervillain does, in which is uses resources to get the best available, hiring the likes of Mother Russia and all these other killers and crime affiliated people to help him in his journey of taking down Kick-Ass and taking down a load of these other superheroes, in which for me showed what a great villain he was in this film. I think Dave's team was good, don't get me wrong. However, the logic of Dave's team, built up of normal civilians, and can somehow at the end of the film rock up and defeat killers, crime bosses, and kill and be able to defeat these mass murderers and stuff like that. Just normal civilians with no background in fighting, training, whatever. It doesn't really make much sense. These killers will have experience. And when he knows where Chris D'Amico is, why didn't he just call the SWAT team or something like that? But logic goes clearly out the window. This reminds me a lot like in Armageddon, for instance, where they tried to train an oil drillers to go to space and become astronauts, instead of getting astronauts to be able to drill, which would have been probably easier.
And your men are the biggest mistake in the history of NASA.
I think though that the ending of Mindy finally joining the group and becoming a superhero again, being at Dave's funeral, helping to take down some of the people that tried to kill Dave at his funeral and other people there. I think it was great, Mindy getting back involved as Hit Girl, and then going up against Mother Russia, in which was a great fucking mix-up there, because you had Mother Russia, this big, strong, it looked like Ivan Drago as a woman, and then you also had Mindy there, who's obviously trained up, knows how to fight, got all the skills in the world, but still struggled against Mother Russia, and I think it was such a great dynamic, that in particular. And then obviously you had Chris D'Amico versus Dave for the second time in a row, and it was like, oh my god, we saw this in the first film, they didn't know how to fight, and then this one, it wasn't that entertaining a fight, but Chris D'Amico ended up getting munched by a shark, which was pretty interesting. And I think the ending of Mother Russia being defeated in sort of one of the best superhero fights that you're going to see in superhero movies, I think it was brilliant and really entertaining, and a great end to the film in my opinion. Before we jump back into this video, guys, please do us a massive favour and smash that subscribe button, because you do not want to miss a thing this week, next week, and the week after, because we've got tons and tons of content planned for you guys, and you can do us a massive favour by smashing that subscribe button, joining the community, getting updates to all the latest videos from the YouTube shorts to the actual videos. It is well worth it, completely free, and you will not regret it. So to summarise, Kick-Ass 2 then, for me this is easy, a 7.7 out of 10 and a great film. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Is it good, bad, terrible, amazing? Let us know all that jazz down those comments down below. And if you haven't yet seen the first movie in the franchise of the Kick-Ass universe, go check out our review on Kick-Ass right now.